Carleen, thank you for joining us today.
It's good to be here.
This has been an ongoing project for the last few years, trying to get employees all across our campus together so we can highlight Plymouth State University. Or maybe when you came here, was it Plymouth State University?
No, it was actually Plymouth State College. And I don't remember when it changed to Plymouth State College, nor do I remember when it changed to PSU. Yeah, it was Plymouth State College, and it was a very small town. The campus seemed small to me when I came.
Let's start off with your official name so the audience can get to know you a little bit.
I'm Carleen Graff, or Dr. Carleen Graff for some. Yeah.
And where did you come from?
I grew up in Illinois, but I did some schooling in Illinois and Colorado, where was my 2 advanced degrees. And I came through the public school system teaching 2 years after I got my master's. And then I taught 1 year at Indiana State on a 1-year appointment before I came here to Plymouth in 1973.
That was my next question. When did you arrive at Plymouth State College?
Yeah, in 1973. And I was very young, very green, and very excited to have my first college full-time teaching job.
Can you remember, I asked this question, you can deny, what was your first year's salary?
I happened to see that not too long ago, and I think it was $9,000. Can you believe? But it didn't matter to me what the salary was. It was the full-time teaching job that was important to me.
What lured you to Plymouth? You had a position in Illinois?
No, in Indiana.
Indiana.
It was just a 1-year position as a replacement for a faculty on sabbatical. So I needed another job. And I took the first job that I thought I would enjoy, and that was Plymouth State.
Did you have an interview process prior to coming here?
Yes, I came from Indiana one day and took the bus from Logan up to Plymouth and got off at Volpe's. I don't know how I found my way to the hotel, but it was the little brick buildings behind, I can't think of the name of the, up on Route 3 there. I can't think of the name of it right now. That I stayed in one little corner room for my 3-day interview or 2-day interview, and met a couple of the faculty members and did my audition on piano and accompanying, and yeah, met people in the college.
What was your position at Plymouth State?
I started as instructor and worked my way up to professor during all these years. It took me 46 years at Plymouth State, or I shouldn't say it took me 46 years. I was at Plymouth State for 46 years. Yeah, it was an enjoyable time.
What kind of responsibilities would have gone along with this position?
When I started, it encompassed quite a bit. It was teaching the piano majors, a couple of piano classes. I did all the accompanying for the department at that time, students and faculty, and mostly senior recitals. And I taught a fundamentals of music for elementary education majors, and I also taught an intro to music class.
Wow.
So it was quite a position.
I'm trying to go back with you and think of some of the professors who would have been there early on. One that comes to mind was Walter Smith.
Walter Smith and I kept in touch to some extent until about, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. It might have been a little longer when he passed. But Millard Thompson was probably the one that stands out the most to me. We did a lot of four-hand piano recitals together, and he taught the theory and composition courses at the college. And he just passed, I believe, in June of 21. He was 100 and something. Yeah, those are the ones that I started out with. And a dear friend of mine, Pat Lust, who was here when I came, and we're still in touch today and very good friends. Would you believe she left Plymouth State to go to Indiana State, where I came from? Yeah, so that was an interesting little tidbit.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Let's see, what position officially were you hired as? You said an instructor?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, all right. And let's see. If you had contact with your students outside of instruction, outside of your classes, what might it be?
I had quite a bit of contact with my students and still do, all my former students. We had a lot of social time together. I had dinners for them many, many times. Later, when I was here, probably in the late 1990s, Connie Cheeseborough and I began the MTNA student chapter for the Music Teachers National Association. We began the collegiate chapter, and that organization kept me very active with students all the way till I retired. And today I still do. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, but today I still meet with my former majors quite a bit online. We do an online performance class and a pedagogy class. And we actually played a concert here in Plymouth last summer. 5 of us from that group did. So I have quite a bit of contact with my former majors yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you got the offer to come to Plymouth, and I think you may have answered this already, what enticed you to come to Plymouth? Was it your first job, official longevity job?
My official, I guess, tenure track position was got me to come here. I was through New England once as a young child, but I'd never been in this area for any length of time except to drive around the coast and up through Maine and Canada. So it was an interesting place to come and to learn about New England ways.
That's interesting. After you arrived here, what was it, one or two things? Just a first job, I'm taking it no matter what? What was it about the college? What was it about the town? Maybe it's people that said, this is where I want to stay for a while.
I think it was the students. My majors, I had some really good majors. They were very dedicated. My piano class students were also very dedicated and wanted to learn at that time. So I think it's always been the students that have kept me here. I also, as I went through my years here, thought maybe a larger place would be better for me. But I looked and applied and offered, and I decided that I liked Plymouth because I did not have to choose between teaching majors or piano classes. Both of them were my love.
Next question you may have answered already as well. What people had in your major and outside had an influence on you? And we've mentioned 2 or 3 already.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most in the department in my early years was Pat Lust, who ended up teaching at Longwood College in Virginia. She was a voice teacher. And I guess more recently, the ones I really trusted and looked up to a lot was Jonathan Santori and Connie Cheeseborough and Kathleen Arecki. I have to mention Kathleen, who passed away too early in life. She was a major influence on things I did here.
During the time you've been here, many years, what are the major changes that you've seen within the department?
Yeah, the department, we grew immensely through the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, probably up to 2015 or so. I think with the building, I'll start there, we moved into this building that was a former phys ed building, and it had faculty offices inside classrooms. So I remember some of my first years here, Bob O'Neill had his philosophy office in the little room off of my piano classroom. So every time he wanted to go to his office, he had to come through my piano class to get there. Every faculty office had a shower. This happened with all the classrooms in Silver. They were all led into one another. There was never any real privacy anywhere.
Because the original intent, it was a physical education building.
And my piano classroom had the bars that went up the wall and across the ceiling, I guess is how they exercised or did their exercises. And I suppose that's why the showers were in all the offices too. And I remember when Carleen Graff first came, her voice studio was the drying room for the, I don't know, theater projects or something. So it was quite an interesting experience to teach in the building at that point. Our faculty offices upstairs were connected with vents. I don't know why the vents were connecting, and all the practice rooms were connected with vents. So you'd be practicing in one room and hear exactly what the other person was playing in the next room. I was going to say, the auditorium was actually the gymnasium when I came here. It had the basketball hoops and the bleachers on the side and everything, yeah. And then in the 80s, I think the building was remodeled to some extent, and they took away the bleachers and the basketball hoops, and they put a partition about halfway across that gymnasium that rattled like crazy during all the concerts when people came in. So once we got our new building in '93, I believe, I actually felt like I was teaching in a music department for the first time.
It only took a few decades.
Yeah, right. but it was a wonderful facility here that we still have today.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
agree with you. It's grown.
Yes.
It's grown
Yeah.
as a result of the discipline changes
Yeah.
that we've had.
And I think the student population has grown because of the new building and the new, we were able to pick out new pianos for the new building in '93 and go to New York and choose the pianos. And I think for me that was kind of a highlight of getting actually good instruments into our building for the first time to perform on.
Did they ever recruit anybody within the department, go out into the schools recruiting at that time for students? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I know in more recent times, many band director, choir directors spent days and days in the schools. I suppose they did. I don't remember directly that they did, or who it was that did it, but I know they had some input in schools. I'm sure the choir director and band directors were out in the schools conducting and giving sessions.
Plus whatever they did on campus was
Right.
an enticement too.
And I did quite a bit in the piano area by going out with the New Hampshire music teachers organizations in the state and doing some recitals at their state conferences and sessions along the way, and meeting many teachers that way. So we all had our own ways of doing recruiting, which I can talk about a little later maybe.
What changes have occurred? You said the population, you said the buildings,
Yes.
and most people recognize if they've been in the area in a period of a decade, we had 11 buildings that either went up or were modified to a great degree.
Yeah.
Yours was one of them.
I remember being, the first remodeling, I remember being in the basement of, oh dear, it was the old elementary school.
Oh, Spear.
Yeah, but the one across the way,
Rounds?
not Rounds either, next to the Union Building. Memorial, I guess. I was in the basement of that for your remodeling. The next remodeling I was, and then I think it was remodeled after that, Memorial. And then I was in the basement of Reed Hall when the Silver Center that we know today was built, in the back with the vault in the corner and everything. And then that was remodeled after that. So we went through some of those changes. Yeah, the Union Building itself was completely redone. So I do remember that. One thing that I think was good that Plymouth State did during all these times was make it a walking campus, or a much more walking campus. I do remember being able to park on any street anywhere through campus, but boy, was it a problem driving through those streets. They were so narrow. So I think the walking campus has helped a lot with better parking lots.
I can recall a couple of apartment buildings that people had, and the college kids would take advantage of how close it was, right in the middle of the campus, and eventually
wow.
those went away as well too.
Yeah, I don't remember that part, but
Sorry.
yeah.
How about the town of Plymouth? Switch gears just a little bit. You being an outsider way back when, and getting involved, how have you seen Plymouth, the town of, change?
it has grown immensely. It has grown a lot with more box stores and fast food restaurants and that. I remember when I first came here, there wasn't any of that, and I thought, oh, I'm really, but no, it has grown with that. I think we didn't even have any stoplights, or maybe one when I first came here. And now I don't know how many we have, you almost can't count them. So that has grown. Tenny Mountain has grown immensely since then. That was, the Flying Saucer restaurant was about it that I remember back when I came. The downtown was very small. It, however, reminded me of my hometown where I grew up in Illinois, because it was rather small too. And people kind of knew each other. I still remember one incident going out to Hannaford, and it was before Hannaford, but I checked out one day, and the lady said, "Are you the piano teacher?" So they knew who I was. I didn't know who they were.
Oh, that's neat.
But it's a small town in that respect, I think.
I'm trying to remember what was there before Hannaford's, and I'm not sure we called it Food Town. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
or
go
Stop and some, yeah.
And the roundabout,
Yep.
that wasn't there.
No, and that intersection was really crazy. None of the streets met anywhere.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
neat. Thank you,
yeah.
thank you. Putting you on the spot, as you think back of all the years that you were here, what major contributions, please don't be humble here,
Okay.
all right? What kind of contributions did you participate in? What you feel your major contributions have been over the extensive time you've been here?
I think one of the things I did, I don't know that the university still feels this way, but I hope that's okay to mention. Kathleen and I began the Bachelor of Arts program in voice and piano performance and pedagogy, and I think it really set us apart from the other institutions in New England, because we were able to do that. The programs were very small, which is, I think, what did them in when I retired. But I believe it brought us a lot of credit from all the piano and voice teachers in New England. And I had some really wonderful students during that time. And they're still out in the field teaching, and they're very prominent now in the music organizations in New England, and even beyond that, the division too. So that's one thing I feel we did well for those 20-some years that it was offered. One of the other things I did, and people probably remember this poster, I don't know if you can see it, but hopefully so. I did Piano Monster festivals for many years. The biennial Piano Monster concert was just a one-day event that I did for about 20 years. And it brought over 200 and some pianists to campus at one time, adults and younger students, primarily high school students. But then it almost became too much to manage, and I decided I wanted to do a summer camp. So this is what developed from it, were the Piano Monster festivals in the summer, which I did for 26 years. And it brought a tremendous number of students from all over New England to the camp. I think our high point was 100 and some every summer, which is a lot of pianists when you think about it, and they had to be dedicated to do this in their summer vacation too. So that's one thing that I'm really proud of. And we have now Little Monsters in Maine and Vermont that they have started. So it has grown. I think it's the only camp that was in the country, and still is maybe. Actually, a group of people from, two teachers from Kentucky came to visit us one summer during camp, and they actually started a Monster Festival camp down in Kentucky. So that is the second one that's gone, but ours was the first. I think another thing that was very successful when I was here were all our unofficial prep programs, where we brought tremendous number of young students to campus and their families to see what was really happening on campus. But they took lessons on a weekly basis with my piano pedagogy students. And they not only were the young students and their parents that came, but we taught adults from the community and faculty and staff here at Plymouth State. So there was a tremendous number of students that went through that program and through the music building every week. And it gave great experience to my college students who are still out there teaching piano today.
And great recognition.
Yeah, yeah. So, and they're also in the colleges in New England teaching now. So that was another thing.
The satisfaction that you must get knowing that your students have fostered so many things that were created here or that participated here.
Yeah. We're actually trying to begin a summer camp here in New Hampshire through the Concord Community Music School now. So I've had good relations with that school for quite a number of years, and one of my former students is now teaching there too. So yeah, I have a great deal of satisfaction with all of this. One other thing that I started that I loved, and I actually started it because many colleges had what they called Piano Day, where piano students and their teachers, parents came to the campus to visit. It was kind of more of a recruitment thing. But about the day or two before I decided I wanted to do that, and Connie Cheeseborough and I were the ones that created that, UNH decided to do a piano day. So I said, Connie, we can't do the same thing, so let's do a contemporary piano festival. And contemporary music of the 20th century, if it's still contemporary, I guess it is, it was a big favorite of mine to perform and to learn about. And so we started the Contemporary Piano Festival, and it went for 18 or 19 years, I believe. And we did a little competition, and I did a lecture recital on a composer. We did a master class. Connie always gave a topic on harpsichord or another topic of hers, or we brought in another faculty member to talk. So it really was a piano day, but in disguise, I guess. But I loved the contemporary music, and I felt the teachers were not teaching enough of it. They were teaching Bach and Beethoven and Chopin and staying away from the contemporary music, so I wanted to enhance that.
And it was well received?
Very well received. Towards the end, not so much. Teachers weren't coming, and students came more for the competition, I think, and that was unfortunate. So I stopped that, I think, the year before I retired.
How many years did you do this for?
I think it was 18 or 19. It could have been 20. I haven't counted the years.
I should ask you what you do in your free time, because based upon what you've just shared, you were always busy.
I loved what I did, and I loved the students that I worked with, and they were very much a part of, I mean, they were the counselors and the teachers at this summer piano camp, so they got to learn what students that age were like before they were actually teaching them full time. So, yeah.
If you had a group of people in front of you right now, people that were considering coming to Plymouth to be a future instructor of your discipline, what might you share with them? Because of your years here, your exposure to what you've accomplished, what would be valuable to share with them?
If they wanted to come to Plymouth State.
And they were deciding between this school and that school.
I think when I was here, I had many of them come to audition, and we talked what did we have to offer, and many of the attracting things were that they could work at the Piano Monster Camp, that they could teach students, they could learn how to teach, even if that wasn't going to be their full-time position. Many of them were music education majors, but yet they were pianists, so they still wanted to teach piano at some point. And some of them are teaching in the public schools, but they still have a side studio of piano students. Some of them are teaching in their own school systems in the morning before school or after school. So I think, I just tried to point out the things that they would be able to do here that I was pretty sure not all universities were offering that opportunity to teach under supervision, and to work in a summer camp where they could learn how the students worked. And I think it drew quite a few of my majors.
As you think back, with your decades here at Plymouth again. Is there a story or two that we should share with the audience today?
Yeah, I thought through that a little bit, and I don't know that I have any specific stories. I'm sure I'll think of them once I leave, but what I remember the most is my interaction with colleagues, with Gail Carr, who helped sponsor this Piano Monster Festival for 25 of the 26 years. She was my rock behind everything, doing all the work and helping me and make decisions in that. So I think the thing that I remember the most are the Piano Monster festivals and that I did with college students, young students, teachers. It kind of combined everybody.
I'm trying to think, have we done everything that we wanted to today? Can you think of something else that would be worthy to share with our audience? It certainly comes across, your love of students, your love of teaching, the interactions you've had in all these decades, how busy you have been all this time.
I lost my train of thought, sorry.
I can see something on.
I have, with my students again, many of them have given me little plaques or mementos, and this one I think wraps up a lot of what I feel. Do what you love, love what you do. And so that's one thing that I do. The other thing I did want to mention was that I played a tremendous number of solo recitals, duo recitals, chamber recitals at Plymouth State. I was able to learn a tremendous amount of repertoire through doing those performances for the public, and I believe they were always free to the public. I tried not to charge for these concerts because I wanted my young piano students to come. And I still think that all of this holds true today. I now have a studio of 24 students that I'm teaching, and they're very involved in things. Many of them have gone on into music. I had 2 seniors last year go on into music. So those things are what I remember about teaching, is their successes.
I think your little slogan that you have there really shares with the audience how much you have enjoyed the background that you have brought to Plymouth all these years.
I've always said I went to PSU to have fun every day, but I never really felt that I went there to work.
I think we should stop on that one. We're
Okay.
closing down a little bit,
Okay.
and I think that little comment to the audience is a really good one for us to remember. If we love what we do, it is
Yeah.
not considered to be work, and how
Right.
fortunate we have been, as many others like you have shared.
Yeah.
So, Holly, thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me too. It was good.